and here with Anna Hinz, who is the director of Sauna Sisterhood. Anna, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Your film is doing very well in the festival circuit. Best Director, you won for World Cinema Documentary category at Sundance. And you were also nominated for the Lux European Audience Award for 2024. I just want to say, rightfully so, I really feel this film is so masterfully put together. It's gorgeous and it has so much emotional depth. And the stories of the women that you tell are, I think everyone should see this film for what's being told. Can I ask first what your relationship is with these women that you film?
Thank you, first of all, for such kind words. It means a lot to me. Yes, the relationship is interesting. I made the film 7 years. So it started first with friends. I come from the culture of smoke sauna. So I have my sisterhood and it started with that, but then it grew so much more bigger. In the 7 years, there were women that I didn't know before, but who came to my path and who wanted to be part of the film. And then they became part of the sisterhood. So there are different women from different ways who have come to me. But I think it's important to mention how I did it, this kind of intimacy that you can sense in the film, and how to build that kind of trust. So there were some things, like, for example, I had said to myself that I cannot persuade anyone. So it was like, because persuasion for me is a way of manipulation. And I felt that it's important also to create vulnerability. You have to be vulnerable yourself as a director. And so I was transparent from the start, and I said what kind of level of intimacy I'm looking after. And then only those who said yes, they want to be part, then they were part. But if there was a person who was like, I don't know, I'm a bit hesitant, then I didn't do anything. So there was no persuasion, because I felt you have to feel that yes inside you. And then also, usually when you make films, then it is like this, that let's say I want to make a film with you and you say yes. And then traditionally it's like you sign a release form, yeah? You say, basically you sign that I can film you, and then basically that material belongs to the production company. And I felt this is wrong. I felt that, I wouldn't want to participate like this in this kind of intimate film. And I don't want others to be like that. And I also felt that if somebody would be there with that knowledge, they would feel like very thinking what they're saying all the time. So yes, in order to be vulnerable, you create vulnerability, you have to be vulnerable. So I asked and told my producer that, we are taking risk also. And the risk was that basically it was trust built on words. And in the sense that I told the women that I don't want any sign from them, just trust. And only in the post-production, when they see the cut and they say yes, then they sign what is needed. And it shows for the production, it is also a very vulnerable state, because basically they could have said no. But I think that was the way to create this kind of intimacy and vulnerability. And I firmly believe that it is possible to create bold and intimate stories without manipulation, without this kind of with the trust and with being vulnerable yourself. And therefore, if you ask what is my relationship to these women, even though there were women that I didn't know who became part of the sisterhood, who became part of the film, now the sisterhood is, continuing. So it's not like I'm not this kind of filmmaker that, okay, I want something from you, we go, we shoot, and then bye-bye, but it continues. And now I feel this huge, massive support from all of them. And then I think it was on the second or third year where the woman that you see in the film, Kadi Kivila, she came on board. She's a friend, and we just met up And then I told what I'm doing, and she said she wants to be part of the film, and she wanted to be there with her face, and then she came there, and even because Estonia is a small country, so people got to know that I do the film. So women started to approach me, and once we were shooting, and there came a car, and a woman came out, and I didn't know who she is, and she was like, "Can I come to the sauna with you?" And I was like, "Okay, let's do it. I don't know you, but let's go to sauna and let's see what happens."
That's amazing. And I think exactly, that's such an important point you brought about trust, and and I know it's a risk, as you say, but I think that really comes across in the film, and what probably very likely why the stories that are being told come out, and they're so emotional. You said it took you 7 years to make a film, and it's your first feature, right? Was it challenging to get it off the ground, given that the subject?
It was full of challenges. I mean, so many challenges from the start. Well, first producer, for example, unfortunately died on the third year of making the film. I mean, that was huge challenge and sadness. But then all the time when we had the challenges, somehow, I don't know, universe was like gave hope or support. Then in the beginning, to get money for it was a challenge, because and that is very funny. Right now, when after Sundance, when I won the Best Director award, and the jury told me, pointed out all those things what they really loved. And then I looked back to this report from the first round of funders who didn't give money, and they pointed out exactly the same things as a fault, and the same things the points that got me later this award. So I think it has been a really a growing process for me as a person and as a director to fully trust my intuition and guts. And even when there are voices around who do not see into you, or give, for example, like the most funny argument was that, well, but we haven't seen this kind of film before. And then my answer is, I don't want to make film that you have seen before. So when maybe they cannot imagine what you as the author are imagining, then how to stick on to that voice, and how to stick on to intuition in deeper sense also, because we are brought up, still, like even in film industry, there are these narratives of great male directors and their way, how it has been, and you are dominant in certain ways, or I remember in film school they were telling that the most horrible thing that can happen is that the director is insecure, and then I was like, I am insecure, please. And then everyone is like, well, actually we are also insecure, but we just make this mask. So how to find and validate your way of feeling, creating, thinking, that has also been the challenge and journey. And in a way, it goes together with what the film is telling to the audience, to radically accept oneself. And It has been my own journey also, how to radically accept myself and not compare with others, but find my unique way to be and create.
I mean, that's such an inspiring thing for people to hear, that, especially people, filmmakers like yourself and myself and whatnot, who have to go through this funding process and get a lot of rejections, but also need to be determined. So it's so great for you to say that. You did mention some of the women, one in particular. I think I noticed two that were telling their story with their face. Of course, there were faces, sort of as part of other parts. Was this a decision that you made to pick one or two, or not share the faces of others as a stylistic choice, or was this something, as you discussed with your trust with the various women, that you kind of discussed before you started filming?
Yeah, it came from life itself. So it came in a way that there are so few women who are showing their face comes where we are in society, that still so many women are ashamed to talk about things with their face. And it was came from that trust, how each of them wanted to be filmed. But then I thought that, wow, this is actually very good stylistically also. Like from the beginning, I thought that it's very good, because when you go to smoke sauna, there is this kind of darkness, and in a way the face is not so important. And you are there and you are feeling the presence of these other bodies around you, and you're not focusing on the face like that. So it kind of felt stylistically also good. And then it was interesting that I was then like, wow, it's really good. There are no faces and it works. And then came the women who are like, I want to be with a face. And then I understood that no, but then I, like at first was like, no, but I had that style, that there are no faces. Then I was like, no. Like, is this the way I want to also show who are showing their faces. Yeah. So then I understood that if I would have cut their faces off, it would be violent, So I was like, yes, you can be with those faces. And in the end, that's what I believe in, the process of making art also. Like when you trust that flow, then things come together. So now those faces that are there, or the Kadi, the woman that has her face there mostly, she becomes like a witness. So through her face, through her bravery, she encourages also us and gives us that possibility to be listening together with her. So yes, it like naturally came all like it is. And I was following how the women were wanting themselves to be. And that was also the trust, the visual trust, because the challenge is in this kind of film, you have naked bodies. And for us and for smoke sauna tradition, nakedness is something very natural. So, and when you take their clothes off and you go there into that hot, dark, sacred space, it is literally you take clothes off, but you also emotionally take clothes off, and you take off also those constructs that you have about yourself, or masks or these things what you think that you are. You enter that dark kind of cosmic womb where actually you can redefine yourself, or ask, for example, is the life that I'm living the life that I want to live, or when I'm speaking in a voice, is that voice actually mine, or who does that belong to? And so it is very important, that nakedness. At the same time, naked body, especially naked women body, challenges to shoot, because how we have seen the naked bodies of women is usually through objectification, through male gaze, through sexualizing the bodies. And it was very important for me not to do that. And so we were testing it first out with my own body and finding the key, and then showing this also to the women. So they trusted my visual language also. And then, yes, totally trusted, like who wants their face, who doesn't want their face.
That's amazing that was part of the process. And again, to your original thought of how you were going to put this project together and the trust that you create, they're much part of that process. That's great. I also really loved how you just described the sauna. I mean, I've never been to a sauna in Estonia, but I love log cabin saunas and whatnot. And I think what's so nice about the way that you portray it is a place of ritual, a place of seasons, and a place of fun and play, sometimes pragmatic. It was such, you could capture the energy of that, what you just said, throughout the whole time watching the film. Is that, I mean, you want to talk a little bit more about the sauna as a space for these women, for the culture and whatnot?
Well, smoke sauna is very, very old sacred space. It dates back to pre-Christian times, so we cannot really know how many thousands of years old this tradition is. But it is a place where women used to give birth, wash the dead, and heal. And it is, I come from that culture, and my granny was passing on the heritage to me. So this is a place where you go and you wash not just your body, but also your soul. And it's a place that can safe space where you can be, you can validate all your emotions and experiences, and has this kind of power. Like my granny always said, like part of you, when you go there, part of you always dies and part of you is reborn. It has that transformational healing power. And when I think about smoke sauna, I always talk about the story when I was myself 11, and my grandfather had just died, and his body was in the farm, and we went to smoke sauna before the funeral, because that's what you do with granny and aunt and niece. And then it was there my granny said and confessed that grandfather had actually betrayed on her and lived with another woman. And then she released all these emotions, you know, like fear and pain, anger, frustration, you know, all these things. And we were there witnessing, just being without judgment, just like letting it all out. And then when we went out, I felt that granny had made peace with grandfather. So like next day, we could bury grandfather in peace. And I think there I really understood, it got to my system as this 11-year-old, what smoke sauna does, that you can go there and validate absolutely everything that you have had and experienced. And when you validate those experiences and emotions without shaming, without judging, then actually there's huge healing power, and you like empower. The power comes back to you, and you should not be. I should not be afraid of whatever emotions I have, and so I think this is what is carrying that essence in the film. And for me, the element of water was very important, because a lot of chants are connected with water, and water, when you think about it, water takes different forms, you know, like frozen, then, you know, melts up. So for me, there is this layer of water gives a lot of hope, that even when there are feelings inside us or experiences where we are like frozen and we feel almost ready to die, or it's like death is frozen, yeah, then it's possible to make them flow, like heat them up. And then in sauna, in smoke sauna, you sweat out this physical dirt, like being there, you know, more first the surface, then more deeper levels come to surface of dirt, but also emotionally. And it is belonging, smoke sauna is belonging to the bigger spiritual, how to call it, spirituality, where nature is sacred, where we are part of nature, when understanding of time is also different. Understanding of time is not linear, but cyclic, like in nature. So, and there is huge hope in that. I think we as humanity, we need to connect again, reconnect with ourselves, with each other, and with nature and Mother Earth, and smoke sauna helps to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talked a lot about the visuals and how you filmed the bodies and angles and things like that, which were stunning. But I also really loved, you know, I watched it on my laptop, but I loved the soundscape that you were building. I mean, from the music, but also and the singing, to just the sounds of the sauna. And I was just wondering how, like, who you worked with in terms of sound and how that worked together, because it was really masterful, as I said, with everything else. It was very special. And it made me think about exactly how intimate a sauna space is, but those like elemental things that are happening, you know, those noises become much more like present, you know, like present, you know. So I thought I thought that was really, really helpful in getting into the film.
Thank you so much. You said the elements, exactly. The elements that are very important in the soundscape. All the sounds kind of derive or are born from the elements that that are present in smoke sauna. And we were working, so the voices of the women is, I have a band, Ether, that is me and two women, and we all have roots in South East Estonia. So from the start, I felt that because the film is talking about the voices of women, I I felt that the voices of women have to be one important element in the sound. So the voices of women, and then combining with these sounds from the actual smoke sauna, and we were collaborating with Icelandic composer Edvard Egilsson, and it was super beautiful. Basically, the first meeting with Edvard was that we invited him to Estonia to smoke sauna. So basically, first meeting is like, hello, let's get naked, let's go to smoke sauna. But I felt it was so important that he experiences it, the soundscape also. So he experienced it, he really connected and fell in love with this tradition and the space, and recorded, did a lot of field recordings, and then later I went to Iceland and we recorded together in his studio, and also there was Icelandic sound designer Huldar Freyr Arason, who was then putting the sounds together, and then Edvard was like giving that feeling and knowledge of the smoke sauna soundscape to him.
Amazing. One logistic question: I don't maybe filming in a sauna, like with this equipment and stuff, is that something you have to take breaks or things like that? I mean, and it's something I just thought of the equipment, and also just maybe the amount of people and the amount, and also, as you said, creating this kind of safe space where there was trust. I mean, how did you sort of navigate logistics of filming inside a very hot space?
Yeah, I mean, it's a total challenge, of course. I mean, first of all, when you go to someone that, okay, I'm going to film in a dark, small, wet, moist, steamy space, hot, general average temperature was 80 degrees Celsius, or sometimes more, sometimes a bit less, but mostly 80. I mean, it sounds like crazy plan, but then again, like as a director, you have to have your good partners coming with you. So cinematographer and sound designer Ants Tammik and Tanel Kadalik, and of course my producer Marianne Ostrat. They really supported this vision. And so we thought through all the process. It was I had to take care not just like how the people are there emotionally, but also like that nobody basically passes off, or how to call it in English, doesn't fade. And so yes, in smoke sauna, and while they're in the hot, then you go out, then you go back. One session can last for 4 hours, but back and forth. So we had one lens that was outside, and when we went outside, and the other one we had to adjust together with heating up the sauna. So like you heat up the sauna for 6 hours, and then it is done. You cannot put more wood. And while heating up, so we first put one lens onto the floor, then after 2 hours, more up, then more up. And then we had ice bags around the camera and gloves, because camera gets, metal can burn you. Drinking a lot of water, and checking, yes, that everyone is physically also good. But there was only sound operator and camera cinematographer and me. Everyone else, assistants, were outside.
One final question is just, I guess the thought of, I mean, there's so much trauma stories being told, and they're really intense, but there are moments where there's quite beautiful kind of fun, happy play. What was your overall ambition with the tone of the film? Because I think they interplay so well together, and is that how it happened, or did you really want to make sure there was a certain what did you want people to come away from?
Well, the film is kind of depicting, like for me, it was important how to depict the session that can be like 4 hours or something, how to depict that into a film, that experience of the whole smoke sauna, how it goes deeper and deeper, these layers that start to sweat off, and to give you the whole palette of that experience, and give the encouragement not to be afraid of traumas, or speaking about traumas, not to be afraid of that, because when we share them and we have the community around who listens, there is huge healing energy and empowerment. So like that, yes, you can be there, you can go through joy, you can go through tears, you can go through everything, and in the end go out like give this feeling that that you have kind of cleansed, or you have regained your strength and power in like accepting all those things and sharing them and not hiding them. I think this to give this feeling that I felt as an 11-year-old when I went out from the smoke sauna before the funeral of my grandfather with my granny, where I got this deep encouragement not to be afraid of the dark spaces inside me, and to find those safe spaces to share them, not to be afraid of that, and believe in the healing and in hope that a life after trauma is possible. That's the message.
Well, that's beautiful. And it does. It really works out so well. Thank you so much for taking the time. I assume you have, or I don't assume, do you have plans for future work? Are you working on something now? Yeah.
I am working. It's too early to talk. I don't like to talk too early. But I am actually, I'm right now here also working. So there are several things. With next project, we can talk again.
Absolutely. And I look forward to it, because I'll be following your work from now. And I really highly, like I said, tell everyone who was listening to go to your film. I believe it's playing in Glasgow and Edinburgh. We're UK based, but in Scotland particularly, on the 13th of October, I believe, is when it's out. I checked, and it's in a cinematic experience for this is the way to do it. So please go see it. And huge thank you for taking the time. I hope we get to meet again. So
yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, and lots of love to everyone who are listening, and encouragement to find your voices and listen to those voices.